The lineups are set. The season is just 2 days away. Now let's start talking strategy. Let's start talking what's inside the coach's head. And most of all, let's talk some puck. Hey gang, Costa here from Puck Talk Montreal. Welcome to this October 6th version of the show. And before we get going, as always, I'm going to mention that I'd like you guys to give me a little bit of a thumbs up on the videos, subscribe if you like them, and hit the notification bell. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. Probably one of the fastest growing periods of the year for this channel, and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. But as we grow, certain things change. Along with those things are our two sponsors for the season, starting with InstaCustoms. They're your number one destination for custom apparel printing. They're the highest rated print shop in Canada with over 3,000 Google reviews, a 4.9 star rating, and they were nominated for a 2024 Canada Business Choice Award. They print on all your favorite clothing, plus coffee and travel mugs, and yes, they even offer embroidery. Most orders are printed and shipped the very same day, and large orders in less than 3 days with free shipping. Open 7 days a week. They're located on Stanley Street in downtown Montreal. Easy to remember as it ties in with the Habs' ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. So whether it's for yourself, a loved one, or your business, trust InstaCustoms. Visit us in person or order online at instacustoms.com. And so there you have it. The season is done. The preseason is done, I should say, and the team is made. And a lot of people questioning some of the decisions. I know there's a lot of you out there that are pissed off about Florian Jacki being down with the Laval Rocket, especially given the fact that they left a roster spot open. Here's the thing. The reason why they're leaving the spot open is because of the playoff salary cap implications. They're trying to save a little bit of money moving towards the end of the year. They don't really need to carry 23 players right now. They may later on. But right now, with 22, they're going to be just fine, barring a couple of injuries here and there or whatnot. But overall, you take a look at this team, and okay, it's fine. As you look at it, right, the lines are pretty much what we predicted they were going to be. Caufield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov, Bolduc, Doc, Gallagher, and on the fourth line, Anderson, Evans, and Laine. I'll talk about Laine in a minute because there's a lot of shit going around about that man. And boy, oh boy, if you're not seeing what Marty St. Louis is trying to do, then you really need to examine how much you know about the game of hockey. Because in my opinion, it's a brilliant way to get somebody up to speed in the way you want them to play. But I'll get to that a little bit later. On defense, you got Matheson, Dobson, Gooley, Hudson, Jacki, Carrier. In goal, Montembeault and Dobesh. And as extras, at forward, you've got Joe Veleno. And on defense, you've got Jaden Struble. Pretty much where we expected everything to be, right, everybody? Not really. When was Gallagher supposed to be on the second line? That's a bit of a surprise, I would think, but maybe not. Having Gallagher on the second line provides a little bit more of a defensive conscience to that line, something that they need desperately. So, there's good ideas and bad. And we'll talk about one of the better ideas in a minute. But what do you think of the lineup? I know a lot of you wanted Florian Jacki to start the season in Montreal. And I understand the reasoning behind it. He's popular. He's a fighter. He's feisty. You want him to play with his brother, the Bash brothers, whatever you want to call him. It's cute. But is it smart from a hockey perspective? Not really. From a hockey perspective, you want to be able to have a good, solid lineup from top to bottom. And if you take a look at what the Canadiens have right now, including with Veleno as the 13th forward, they're exactly where they need to be. A lot of people as well are complaining about the fact that Sam Blais was put on waivers and was picked up by the Toronto Maple Leafs. But at the end of the day, Sammy Blais was a throw-in. So, are the Canadiens really losing anything? Not really. And to be quite honest, he didn't really show that much during the preseason. So why would I be worried about somebody like that? I'm not. In fact, the Leafs did us a favor by taking a contract off our hands. So it's a win-win for the Canadiens. You saw what the young guys could bring. You saw what Ekstrom brought on defense. He was fantastic in the last preseason game against Ottawa. You saw what Jacki brought. You saw what Beck brought. There's a lot there. And you want to leave opportunity for the younger guys to come up, right? You want to give them that hope that, hey, the roster's not full. I may be able to pick up that spot and go if there's an injury. A little bit of, like, dangle the carrot like you would in front of a horse and entice them. And I bet you these guys are going to come out there and put their best foot forward, play their best hockey. And the Canadiens are going to end up with harder decisions on who to bring up than you would expect. But that's the way I see it. A lot of people don't see it that way. A lot of people are on the negative side of things. And that's just culture right now. Everything's about the negative. You look at some guys in the French media and, woe is me, the sky is falling. Okay, you listen to Marty St. Louis talking and it sounds like, stuff's not important. Like, I believe I heard somebody today turn around and say that in his press conference when he was talking about Laine, and when he was asked a question by Stu Cowan, he said that special teams aren't important. Well, guess what I did? I cut the clip. Listen carefully.
Well, for me, like I look at his last 2 games in preseason, his 5-on-5 play is the best I've seen. We talk about this a lot, guys. Like, how many minutes of special teams you're going to have in a game? I don't know. Let's just pretend there's 3 on each side. That's 12 minutes. There's 48 minutes of even strength hockey that we got to play. And that's got to be the main focus. Are the special teams important? Absolutely. But that 48 out of 60, 85% of the game is going to be played at even strength. What do you do on the ice to raise the percentages for a team to be successful? And it's not necessarily actions on the puck. They're actions off the puck on both sides of the game. And for me, what I saw from Patty the last 2 games, I'm very encouraged because, I want to be able to come and wave. And Patty plays like that. It makes us deeper. And then obviously he can take his shots on the PP, which, we need. So I'm very encouraged.
So did you hear anything negative there in regards to Patrik Laine? Did you hear anything negative about the power play? No. All he did was point out the obvious. But on average, there are 12 minutes, positive or negative, however you want to look at it, that your team is normally on the penalty kill or the power play in a game. Leaves 48 minutes, 85% of the game that you have to play at 5-on-5. So he gives the importance of specialty teams. He gives the importance of 5-on-5. And here's the key thing that nobody's looking at when it comes to Patrik Laine. Where's the best place for him to learn to play better at 5-on-5? Is it playing offensively? No. Is it playing with guys that have the same speed, play at the same pace, and can play on both offensive and defensive sides of the puck? Yeah. Is it easier to learn playing 5-on-5 when you're not pressured to produce offensively at 5-on-5? Yes. And what happens at the end of the day when you relieve that pressure? Ask Josh Anderson. He produced more. So what Marty St. Louis is doing is exactly what he did with Josh Anderson, is he's putting him in a position where he's not the primary focus as far as offense is concerned, but his focus is going to be playing both sides of the puck efficiently. And then on the power play, let it rip. You're going to get your shots, not to worry. But at 5-on-5, you're going to continue to do what you've been doing in the preseason, and that is focusing on getting back into the zone, supporting your defense, and moving the puck up the ice efficiently. It's a real big, important part of the game. In fact, there are 5 parts of the game that I think are extremely important for the Canadiens' success this season. Part of that is, of course, who's on the ice, including Patrik Laine. And I think from what I saw anyway, I don't know about what you think, put it in the comments, but in the last 2 preseason games, he absolutely was back in his own zone, engaging the other team, playing well without the puck. So there was nothing to really besmirch him with. So the fact that people are saying, Patrik Laine on the 4th line, well, if you're going to put him on the 4th line, what's the point? Stop focusing on how much the Canadiens are paying him. That ship has sailed. They did that 2 years ago when they picked him up. All right, or last season, let's say, when they picked him up. They knew his salary was $8.7 million. They knew what they had to pay. What they were paying for? Well, they ended up paying for 20 goals last season, and this year, they're paying for a guy they expect to be good on both sides of the puck. It's a simple concept. Whether it's 8.7 or 3.6, it doesn't matter. If he plays well on both sides of the puck, you, me, and everybody else are going to be happy. So let's stop complaining this early in the season. Let's give it some time. Let's see how it goes. It could be a godsend, right? Take a look at the lineup again, just for shits and giggles, all right? Do you see the top 3 lines? And the second and third line, you can flip-flop. You see them, right? You know the first line is going to produce. Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov, they look fantastic in the preseason. They're going to produce. Balzik, Doc, and Gallagher, I can't see that line not producing. And then the fourth line, hell, if you're playing against the worst line of the other team, chances are they're going to produce too. So stop complaining already. We're in a good spot. People are complaining about the fact that Matheson is playing with Dobson. They played 2 preseason games together. How did they look? They were fine. Not too many giveaways. It's preseason. Who cares? Let's see what they do in the regular season. If it doesn't work out, you've got options. You can move people up and down the lineup. Gooley and Hudson. Gooley made a couple of mistakes last game. See if he plays better. If he still makes the mistakes next to Hudson, you may very well have to make another change. But the preseason doesn't count for that. Gooley's going to see the mistakes he's made. He's going to understand them, and he's going to correct them. That's the type of defenseman he is. So stop complaining. It's not the 8th yet. It's still the 6th. The 8th is in 2 days when we play against Toronto. Let's see how that goes. And when it comes to Montembeault and Dobesh, they're starting the season with a back-to-back. One against Toronto, one against Detroit. Is Dobesh going to get to play? We'll see. I would say yes. I wouldn't play Montembeault back-to-back because they're playing on Saturday as well. But that's ultimately the call of the head coach, right? But we'll see. Now, when I talked about my 5 things, right, for the Canadiens to need to succeed this year, I had something in mind. And before I give you that something in mind, let me talk about our other sponsor, and that is cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers, cheapesttshirts.ca delivers unbeatable value. You'll always get the lowest prices plus same-day delivery and even same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your orders arrive fast. With over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands like Gildan, jerseys, and American apparel, the selection is unmatched. Whether you're shopping for everyday clothing, tote bags, aprons, and so much more, you'll find it all in one place. Cheapesttshirts.ca is the go-to source for businesses, events, apparel printing companies, and resellers, or even people just looking for the best deals on everyday clothing. Plus, enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes ordering online a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And for some reason, I always have trouble with that ad. But I'll get there. I swear. I'll try not to rush through it all that much. Anyhow, we're going to talk a little bit now about the 5 things that I think the Montreal Canadiens need to do in order to be successful this season. The first thing is they need to make sure that they allow less than 2 goals a game. The more they allow less than 2, the more likely they are to win. And I have numbers to support it. Last season, out of 82 games, the Canadiens allowed 3 or more in 47. How many did they win? 11. That's 23.4%, less than 25% of those games. Right? So you take a look at that, and that's a really hefty number. If the Canadiens can even bring that up by 5%, they're easily making the playoffs. But the thing is that I prefer that they don't do that by winning more games, that they actually allow 3 or more. I'd rather they reduce the amount of games that they allow 3 or more. And that's feasible, given the strength of the goaltending, assuming that Sam Montembeault plays at the same level, if not better, than last year, and the strength of Dobish's goaltending, who's going to see more games this year than he did last year when he came up with the Canadiens. So there's a lot to be said there. And I think I'm right when I say, okay, 2 goals or less, yeah, the key mark, and there are plenty of coaches that have said this through NHL history, the point that you try to make in every game is to score at least 3 goals. 3 goals gives you a chance to win, right? Whether it was Scotty Bowman, Mike Keenan, Joe Quenneville, Mike Babcock, the list goes on and on of coaches that have mentioned the same thing. So there's no lie in that. There's plenty of proof. The more you score, of course, the more likely you are to win. But then again, the more goals you allow, the more likely you are to lose. It works on both sides of the spectrum. So let's see what the Canadiens do defensively. Given the strength of their D, I would presume that they're going to do better in that department, but that remains to be seen. One of the other things I wrote down as well is that they need to make sure they mitigate turnovers in a neutral zone. Now, we all know that Noah Dobson and Mike Matheson were among the league leaders in giveaways last year, right? Combined, it's over 200 between the two of them. Add to that Lane Hudson, and the number gets even higher, upwards of about 275 giveaways last year. That number needs to go down. Now, how do you do that? Part of that is the way the Canadiens play. And it's about not jumping the zone. What is jumping the zone, you ask? Jumping the zone is when the forwards vacate the defensive zone before the puck is out. Now, of course, you want to be able to get a jump start on your offense, so you want to get your forwards out of the zone as quickly as possible, but you don't want to do it at the expense of your defensive play. So what I did was I put together my little whiteboard, and I wanted to show you guys exactly what I mean. In this example, we've got the first line out there of Slafkovsky, Suzuki, and Caufield with Matheson and Dobson on the back end. Now, you see how the layout is, right? Matheson's got the puck behind the net. Dobson is down here at the bottom right. He is the number one option for Matheson to give the puck to. It's a short distance, easy, and that's fine. The way you read this as a defenseman is because your first option is to your right, your centerman should read that, swing down, and come out to your left. When he does, you've got two options. You could skate out. I'm not going to move the puck at the same time because it's tough. You could skate out. You can move the puck over to Slav. You can give it to Suzuki, or you can skate it up yourself. And you come up as 3. In the meantime, recognizing that that puck is coming out on the left side of the net, that's Cole Caufield's job to stretch the zone. So if he comes out and he stretches the zone in the neutral zone, as Matheson moves the puck up, it could be Slav. Oops. It could be, let's do that again. Hello. It could go, oops, missed the puck. Could go to Slav, and that could go to Suzuki, or it could be a stretch over to Caufield. So that's part of the jump, but this is a structured jump. By the same token, if I bring those guys back, okay, and it's Dobson with the puck behind the net, Matheson's his first option down low, then Slav's the jumper. Caufield stays down low, Suzuki swings, Dobson brings the puck out, he passes to Caufield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky's the jumper, there you go. Here's the other thing about that breakout. When the jump happens, and let's say, for example, Dobson comes out with the puck, if Slav is far enough away and the gap is open, you can try the stretch because it's there for the taking. But that's your lowest percentage play, so you don't do that as often. The tighter the pass is, the easier it is to get out of your zone. And the thing about the forecheck is you've always got one guy in somebody's face. So Dobson comes up, Matheson shadows, but he's on a lower angle, right? So if Dobson doesn't give up the puck to Caufield and he's got a forechecker coming in, he can just drop the puck back over to Matheson. Suzuki can swing across. Caufield can flatten. And then you've got boom, boom, boom. You've got options. And that's the thing about not jumping. The more people you have in your own zone, the more likely you are to be able to get the puck out effectively without giving it away. Now, the other part of this is the jump. And I'll show you what the jump is, right? As an example, Matheson's got the puck behind the net. Okay, he starts to skate out with it. And as he does, both Slafkovsky and Caufield and Suzuki jump. And you've got Dobson as the only option. So as Matheson comes up, he's got a long distance to pass this puck, right? The smartest play here would be, if he can, to be able to skate it out himself, because it's too long of a distance to be able to get the puck out, right? Or he can give it to Dobson, and when Dobson brings it back behind the net, this forces the guys back, right? And this is how you get back to it again. The idea of the jump is that you use it sparingly as an offensive measure, but you don't do it all the time. And part of the problem with the Canadiens is they were using the jump too often to transition to offense. So you got to get away from it. You got to have that structured breakout where you're coming out in a cluster of at least 3 players so that the passes are short, crisp, and accurate. The longer the pass, the more likely it is to be inaccurate. The more inaccurate it is, the more likely it is to be given away. So in order to reduce those giveaways, you reduce the amount of space, time and space that you have to pass the puck. You make it short, you make it easy, and you get the puck out of the zone more effectively. The other part about it is the one thing that I want them to do that they didn't do last year, they haven't done in the preseason, and it really pisses me off, and I yell at the screen every time it happens, is the slingshot on the power play. The slingshot is when the defenseman skates up into the neutral zone, turns around, and drops it back to an oncoming forward. The reason why I hate that, want to see it? Okay, here it is. Let's say the puck's coming out of the zone, right? Oops, you can't see Dobson, but there he is, okay? And behind him, just behind him in the zone is Suzuki. You see Suzuki here? Slafkovsky, for Matheson there, just for argument's sake. So Dobson will drop the puck back to Suzuki, and Suzuki will skate it up the ice, right? Here comes Suzuki with the puck. Okay? Here's the problem. Forward 1, here, that's Slafkovsky. Forward 2 and forward 3 are standing still. So if you're going to use the slingshot, as the Canadiens do, one of the most important things about that is to have the forwards in movement. Don't have them waiting at the blue line. In fact, as Suzuki skates up with the puck, you should have at least one forward swinging through the neutral zone with momentum so that when he gets across the line, the other forward has momentum to carry in with Suzuki. If the guys are standing flat and Suzuki crosses the blue line, guess what? He's got only one option, or two actually. A drop pass to the blue line, which could be dangerous going back the other way, or dumping the puck into the corner to get retrieved by a forward who doesn't have any momentum going into the zone. It's a lose-lose situation with a slingshot. It works 1 out of every 10 times. And that's not where your percentages are as far as the power play is concerned, right? When you cut, if you remember when Wayne Gretzky played in the league, it's the one thing that has been lost completely, and that is the delay. The delay was that when Wayne Gretzky would come across the blue line, he would curl, come back towards the blue with control of the puck as the forwards came in behind him with momentum. He could either hold on to it, give it to the defenseman on the far side, or he could give it to one of the forwards that's streaking. 4 options that he had. Whereas now with the slingshot, you don't have very many, and oftentimes what you see is the guys are getting confused. Suzuki or Newhook, those are the 2 guys that normally carry the puck into the zone. They get crossed up with whoever's waiting at the blue line, trying to give them space, and we end up with another turnover. That's the part that hurts the Canadiens more than anything else. It's the damn turnovers they don't need. So that's where you have to be as far as this team is concerned. You got to be better defensively and not allow as many goals, 2 or less per game. You've got to be more efficient on the power play, and you got to make sure you don't jump the zone so that you can mitigate the giveaways. It's not 5, it's 3. The other thing, patience. That's number 5 for me. I know that we all want success right out of the gate at the beginning of the year, and so does Marty St. Louis. And he talks a lot about percentages. In fact, in the clip, he talked about the percentage of winning based on the fact that 85% of the time you're at 5-on-5, and that's the focus, the primary focus of the team, which it should be. I agree 1,000%. But more often than not, when that doesn't work out, the first thing people do is they turn around and they criticize him. I don't think there's been a thing this preseason that Marty St. Louis has said that's been wrong as far as the Canadiens are concerned. The selection of his team, the strength of his lineup, what he's focused on in the preseason, I don't think there's a single player that hasn't looked better. You look at Xhekaj, you look at Slafkovsky, you take a look at Patrik Laine playing both sides of the ice. You look at Kirby Dach and how good he's looked. You look at Oliver Kapanen, Ivan Demidov. There's no negative player in the preseason this year. Think about that. Yes, there are, according to some people. But when you look at it objectively and you don't think about language or negativity, and you just look at what you saw on the ice, not what was done previously. I don't give a shit what happened last year. It doesn't matter anymore. This is 2025, 2026. This is what we focus on. The past of the past is going to stay there and it's never going to change. The present can change. The future can be different, so long as the players follow the example given by the coach. And right now, that example is glorious. And that's the part that everybody has to look at. Stop talking about how he's not an NHL coach. You take a look at what he's done this preseason. You take a look at the way the players have performed. And you take a look at the group as a whole. And I can guarantee you that's an NHL coach there. The same can be said for Stefan Robida and Trevor Letowski and Alex Burrows, who's doing development. Everybody. There's not a single person on this team that's not carrying their weight. The power play got better last year. There's still room to improve. The penalty kill, not where it needs to be. There is room to improve, right? But there's a lot of positivity. The penalty kill got better as the year got longer. Power play stayed pretty much consistent around 20% all year. You want it to fire at around 25, 26. That's what the Canadiens are gunning for, and they're going to have 2 solid units. So those are your 5 things, from my perspective, that are going to make this an excellent season. Don't focus on the negative. This is going to be a good year, if you will it. Not just the team, but you as a fan. The guy that's watching me right now, or the girl who's watching me right now. Don't look at the negative side of the game. Take a look at the positive. Think about it. You look at the young guys that were sent down to the Rocket and how close they were to making the NHL. That's a good thing when you've got guys that are that close. You take a look at the guys that did make the team, the impact Joe Veleno is going to have, given his effort level, the impact that Laine is going to have, being able to play both sides of the rink and allowing the Canadiens to be better defensively, the impact that Ivan Demidov is going to have, touted to be the number 1 rookie this year and winner of the Calder Cup. Might not be for sure, but we'll see. There's a lot of positives on this team. The only negative for me that still has a little bit of work to do would be the goaltending. Despite the fact that his numbers are coming up, I still don't think Sam Montembeault has reached the top of his potential. There's still work to be done. And so as I mentioned, whenever I hear Eric Raymond say, you know what, we've got his basics down, I don't think you do. I think there's more to be done. His basics still need to work. A goaltender's basics always still need work. Years ago, when I was doing my coaching courses, I ran into Andre St. Pierre. Andre St. Pierre's daughter, Kim, of course, famous for being the goaltender for the Canadian national team for many years. He said that the one thing that he taught Kim was, in warm-up, you took 100 shots to one glove and 100 shots to the other, 100 shots to one pad, 100 shots to the other. That was the way you warmed up every single time you hit the ice. So it was always repetitive movement into the glove, follow it into the glove, blocker it into the corner, kick it to one side, kick it to the other, with the stick. Everything was repetitive. And so when I look at that and I look at Sam Montembeault, I don't see repetition. I see working on one problem and then coming to another. And I think that with more consistency in what his routine is, every time he hits the ice, the better he's going to be. Honestly. So that's the way I look at it. Jakub Dobeš, still a lot to prove, but his technique is extremely good as far as I'm concerned. Yes, he still gives up rebounds. Yes, he's still not as solid as he should be, but as long as he has a solid technique, then the rest will come. I think Montembeault still needs to work on his technique because it's not as solid as Dobeš's is. This is my opinion. I had a talk with Mark Champagne, who used to be the Yarrow Hawks goalie coach, and both of us agreed that Montembeault's way of goaltending needs work. So that's the only part that a little bit of negativity. But with a better defense, mitigating the quality shots, I think that's going to help the Canadiens, and it's going to help Montembeault grow as far as his goaltending is concerned. Tell me what you think. Tell me about the lineup. Do you think I'm right about Laine? Is he on the 4th line so he can grow as a 5-on-5 player? That's what I'm thinking. And it's a great coaching move. Don't have him against the best lines. Have him against the lesser lines and let him learn to play 5-on-5 without as much pressure as he would if he was facing the number 1 line on the opposite team. Do you like the way Marty structured his lines? Is there somebody you would want to see on the 2nd instead of the 3rd and vice versa? I know you're happy about the 1st line. Nobody's going to complain about that. If you do, God help you. And then look at the defense. I know there's a lot of you out there that don't like Matheson and Dobson together, but they've been good in the preseason. Let's see if that extends to the regular season. Is there something else you want to see on defense? Would you prefer seeing Struble in and somebody else out? Put it in the comments. I'll look at it. I'll respond. And maybe, just maybe, I might throw it into the next show. I'd like to thank our sponsors, instacustoms.com and cheapesttshirts.ca, for always being there for this channel. And we'll see you tomorrow night.